graphic. Doesn't mean you guys have to be totally quiet.
I know.
However, anything you say will be incriminating.
I posted something on Facebook, which I don't do very often. I was just sitting here reading the comments.
Trolls.
That nice little news that Yelp put out. Which I need to post something over in the forums because dealers need to be aware of it.
Yeah, I just caught that. It's my first time getting on Facebook today. Actually, one of the few times I've been on this week. But, yeah, life's better.
It's a mind bomb over there, man.
Outside of Refresh Friday and some of the communities I follow on Facebook, it's definitely a dumpster fire in the news feed.
Dude, if it wasn't for a few communities and having to have an account for DealerRefresh, I'd be off the shit quick.
It is negative. It can be depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it won't be today. Some good old. Actually, we're going to go on Facebook and talk about Google. So, yeah.
They're probably listening.
You know they are.
Of course.
It's anytime we say something bad about Facebook, the stream gets funky or something happens. But right now, we'll say something nice. We'll say Facebook isn't making these posts. That's the nicest thing I can say. Yeah. All right, 45-second warning, fellas.
I don't even know why you give us a warning.
Well, how would you know?
I just figure it happens.
The vibe changes.
George, did you participate in Digital Dealer?
I did not. I may join late and go through some sessions, but I would not have attended it. I couldn't have attended any of them live. This is the busy part of our month.
Yeah.
Was it good? Did you guys? I know
right.
I think you either sponsored.
3 seconds, guys.
Yeah. I caught a few sessions.
Here we go.
Are we live, Alex?
We are live.
Snap. George, thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Always.
Honored. DealerRefresh is one of my favorite sites.
Oh, I hope so.
Saved me a lot in the early days when I get stumped on a daily basis from dealers.
You got an example of one, if you don't mind sharing that?
Oh, it would just be usually vendors. Someone would bring up a CRM vendor or an email vendor, page search I hadn't heard of, and just go up and see what the experience is. Wonky things going on with Google Analytics or limitations, or I can't think of any more specifics, but it would usually be Ryan Everson or Joe Pastel or some, people would already have a thread for that and solve that problem. And so I'd pop back in the dealership and say, "Hey, I've got some feedback."
That's awesome.
In most cases, I gave them the DealerRefresh site as well. I'm like, "Hey, here's where I found the answer."
That's great.
Definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 15 years was this year.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
15 years. Hard to believe.
In the spring.
Yeah.
Well,
What?
Jeff was on the cover of Digital Dealer magazine.
I wasn't I?
I remember that. I don't know why it was laying around Dominion. Maybe somebody framed it or something, but it was
probably 12 years plus, maybe somewhere around there. Yeah, it was not a good photo. But anyways,
Is it ever a good photo?
No, it's probably not.
Of yourself, that is. Yeah. Yeah. Well, hello, everybody.
What's happening in your world right now?
in my world.
Yeah.
So it's we every first of the month we start all of our processes over. So for us, we spend the first several days of the month compiling reports, and then we start rolling them out around the 6th or 7th of the month, and that takes form of we maybe because I grew up in the printing business, we're really into documents, so we produce like a 35-page written assessment of the dealer's digital performance in the prior month. And then we sit in a 2-hour Zoom and we go over all those results. We sit on the agency calls to grade the results that are coming from the paid campaigns, make tweaks, recommendations, and then let them ride, make notes, and then the next month we'll go through and say, did we make things better? Did we make it more efficient? And essentially start and do it all over again. So that's really the core of our business, and that keeps us busy on a daily basis.
That's always the fun part about the car business. Everything starts over every month.
That's right. That's right.
So
you're always working on the next 30-day job extension.
We haven't had you on for quite a few months. What are you seeing? What have you seen since the whole COVID and everything going down? Like, does anything stick out in amongst your reporting?
Yeah, I mean, I think the June, July, August, those were power months for a lot of dealers. But most dealers peaked in June or July as far as sessions and conversions. We recommended those dealers reduce spending on paid search around make model campaigns, especially if those were not in stock or very short supply. Since we were seeing that organic search landing pages onto used SRPs, new SRPs, and VDPs were increasing, and so we felt like, especially on the news side, people were going to find those cars, and so that was probably the advice there. The third-party classifieds, they adjusted themselves. Those discounts stopped in July, and I think for most dealers, that overall equation was in their favor. So they got really the third parties cut their rates far deeper than the results panned out for the dealers, and so they got a little bit of a kiss there. But now, for some of our dealers, we're finding that we need to approach the third parties and kind of say, hey, we need to kind of refactor where we are with our pricing because our volume's less, or suddenly this doesn't make sense to us anymore from a cost per lead perspective. And so just going through that process. But, dealers were resilient. I mean, a lot of our best operators turned into used car dealers and really focused on fixed ops, and just, their cheese got moved, and they just said, okay, what do we got to do to be successful?
Who moved the cheese? Yeah.
How successful have the dealers been at some of the short-term renegotiations they're asking for?
We've only started some of those, so I don't know that any of them have been successful. I think that the best approach for and we've done it, pre-pandemic, we had a dealer that was paying, and I won't name the third party, but it's one of the big three, was paying $5,300 per month, and we took them on as a new customer, and we're like, oh my goodness, for the results you have, you're way overpriced. We feel like you should be at $3,000. $3,000 would be fair to you and fair to the third party. From a cost per VDP, cost per shopper, cost per lead perspective. And so we approached the third party and said, look, we want to stay with you. We like the leads, we like the quality, but we think they're overpriced. And they said, oh my gosh, everybody does. We can't do that. And we said, well then, we're gonna have to cancel just for that reason. They came back within 2 or 3 days at $3,500. So that was probably angered the dealer a little bit. That for the same package, they could immediately drop $2,000. And so the dealer stood their ground and said, nope, 3's our number. And 2 days before the cancellation, they came back and said 3. And the third-party rep kind of gave me a hard time and said, George, what are you just in the business of just beating up vendors? I said, no, it was unfair. It was fair to you, but it was unfair to the dealer. Now it's equitable. And so that's, it shouldn't be so lopsided.
George, I've known you for a long time. You're not an unfair person by any measure.
There you go.
Well, there is a question of fairness. Sorry to stay on that track for a minute, but that's kind of a big one. Like how would you measure fairness there? Like what makes sense for the dealer in that particular example?
That's sort of my question as well. Like, what's their inventory size for that particular dealership? And do you have a recommendation on how much a dealership should be spending in their marketing overall when compared to how many vehicles they typically have on average in stock? It's sort of the same question I think that you have, Alex.
Yeah, it's also one coming from the audience too, from Brian Toole, or some, close to that, Brian. we're all sort of barking on the same tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. It's a good thought in terms of cost per inventory vehicle. We approach it maybe for a cost per sale, and so that number has been thrown out. $2.25, $250. I saw in a recent write up from Steve Greenfield. He's a really smart guy who publishes some great data around cost per unit in advertising. But we're looking at it from a cost per shopper. Cost per shopper less than $8, cost per VDP less than 50 cents for the third parties, and then cost per hard conversion, that's lead forms, chats, and phone calls, less than $50. And I honestly think when you go to the third party with a goal and you say, look, our cost per lead is $55, we need to be at the $35 to $40 range with you. Help us there. I think you stand a lot better chance of being successful versus saying, hey, we'd love to pay less. And the rep says, everybody would. We can't really help you. You didn't really go to them with a specific metric in mind.
Yeah.
Well, and they're not used to dealerships throwing out metrics like that whenever they walk through the door.
I also like that you're concentrated on leads, and I know that some, and Drew Amint's got some good comments up here too. But cost per sold, as that's the ultimate one you want to look at. But sometimes the operational or things that are going on in the showroom can affect how the lead's handled, and you never want to mess with your lead count. You always want to keep your lead gen going and flowing, and it's good to look at it from a lead standpoint, but also measure the quality on cost per sold, like Drew's saying.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, as you guys know, the big limitations on phone ups. You get a lot of phone calls from third parties, and unless you ask those questions about where they saw that vehicle and attribute it in the CRM, a lot of dealers don't even have internet categories as a subsource for phone leads in the CRM.
Really?
So I mean, I say a lot. I mean, we found dealers in that position. They're like, what? Do I need to track those differently? And so cost per sold becomes elusive.
Well, I was going to ask, whenever you're calculating that cost per sold, do you take any type of floor traffic into account, or do you just keep it strictly digital?
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't use cost per sold as a metric unless that dealer had a good process for showroom ups, asking those questions, phone ups, and really attributing it that way. You could do it just based on the email leads, but you'd kind of have to index it, knowing that you were missing some conversions. And when I've had third parties sit in meetings when I present these results and they say, whoa, George, I guarantee you we sold more than 6 cars for that dealer last month. My answer is I agree with you, but probably so did your competitors. And so this just allows us to get on a level playing field and have some apples to apples comparisons, between the providers.
It's a good way to look at it.
And there's a question from Brian Tucker. I know we're so far away from Google My Business, but this is a good track for a discussion. Brian's asking, are all VDPs weighed the same? All VDP views?
No, I mean, from a third-party perspective, essentially yes, because if they're VDPs on the third party, then they didn't land on that VDP. They probably started at the homepage of Cars.com or AutoTrader. If the references to VDPs in general on your website, then yes, there's definitely a big difference. Since if you have a campaign that's designed just to drive traffic to a VDP, that may be of little value. In my opinion, if you're driving that traffic to a VDP and they're not either one converting or two, looking at any other vehicles or at least browsing and staying on for a while, then I worry that traffic is low quality, maybe bot traffic, maybe accidental clicks. Who knows? So yeah, we're generally not a fan of that VDP traffic unless you're doing Facebook ads that's optimizing optimizing the audience based on conversion and you're getting a good shopper there.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah, for sure. And also Ryan Everson's got a nice little report he threw in the comments. Thanks for sharing that, Ryan, and also congratulations. I believe he recently got married.
Yeah, he did.
He did. Smart guy. Ryan is also on my help desk over the years. So.
Yeah, without a doubt. So how about some GMB?
That's right, GMB. But Google My Business, the dealer's most important secondary website, comes up 100% of the time you Google their name. Extremely important.
Well, you know a little bit about GMB. You got your second edition of your book out there?
Thank you. Yes, I brought one too. Hey.
Can we all hold this up and advertise for you at the same time?
That's right. Thank you. We stumbled into that book, to be honest with you, over Christmas break, or Thanksgiving, Christmas break. Dealers, I had all these collection of articles that I would send. The dealer would ask a question like, "Hey, I got to write up on that." And I'd send them, and thankfully a dealer said, "George, why don't you put these all into like a binder and kind of make them so we can go through and just reference them." And so my son, who's a senior in the state, who's a really good writer, he's an accounting major, but he helped me kind of assemble all these articles and a couple slide decks, and we put them all in. And as we build it, we thought, this is like a book. We should just paginate it out like a book, put chapters in, and so that's what we did.
It's very informative. I've went through it twice.
Thank you.
If someone wants to grab a hold of that book, what's the easiest way? I know we've got a few links from DealerRefresh.
Click the ad on DealerRefresh.com.
Yeah, do that as well.
But Amazon and just type in Google My Business, it should be one of the first results, I think.
Oh, sweet. You got that optimized as well, huh?
There's just not a ton of people writing about it. But if not, you could Google my name or Google GMBSpy. We're first page of Google results for my name. We'll bring them to my site, and you can get links to order the book and all the other tools we offer.
So GMBSpy, you basically had a plugin, a Chrome extension plugin built, but we'll get deeper into that. But what brought that about?
Sure.
What made you decide to build this plugin?
Yes. So we had been helping dealers with their Google My Business listings. We had been trying to study the latest findings on what pieces of Google My Business most influence search ranking. And again, probably the most important soundbite for dealers to recognize is that winning on Google My Business is not winning on your name, on your branded name. It's winning on non-branded category search. So Google takes care of making sure you show up for your brand. It's really about Jeep brake service near me, or Ford F-150 tire replacement, whatever someone's out there searching for, and seeing how well you rank. And so we do a ton of those searches, and we had found that categories were certainly important. We had no idea actually how important. I read an article in January or February that said, hey, you can sniff your competitor categories. All you got to do is go into the HTML and do a Control F, and then you got to look for a certain pattern, and you can find the categories. And I thought, that's awful. That's a bad process. And thought through it, and had been a big fan of Chrome extensions. I love because you could just go to a site, pop it up, and say analyze me, which seemed like the right application. Yep. And so we hired a developer to put that together. We thought that we would use it. We knew some automotive folks that would use it, and it would be a cool way to just experience building a Chrome extension. And one evening, right after we had launched it, I think a couple days after we had launched it, I'm sitting at the dinner table, doing homework with the girls and having a beer, and I thought, I wonder if I should go up and try to just seed some of the SEO forums that are out there. And so I went and found a couple SEO forums that specifically had a lot of Google My Business discussions. I think the one that I latched onto was called the Local Search Forum. By Sterling Sky, I believe is the company that supports that. It's a great. Since then, I've gotten so much great content from that site. So I figured I was going to get scraped out as a spammer. I sign up, I build a profile, and then I do my self promoting post. But I really was saying, hey, we wrote this. It's live now. We probably have 10 users. Check it out. Any suggestions on how we can improve it? And Darren Shaw, who's a guy I really admire, who runs WhiteSpark, is a really top SEO company that Greg Gifford actually turned me on to. He immediately replied back in the blog and said, no, I've got no changes. We love it just like it is, and then started tweeting about it through his company and personally. And a couple other SEO guys across the globe did. And so, I think I saw that before I went to bed. I woke up and my phone was just on fire with tweets. And some people from Ireland and Spain and the UK kind of picking on it and saying, hey, it doesn't work with google.co.uk. Can you fix that? I'm like, oh my goodness. So it started shooting up from a user perspective pretty sharply. We got with development, we fixed, made sure all the international domains worked. Initially, it only worked on google.com/maps, not google.com/search. So we fixed that as well. I began to follow the people that were following me and go deep into their conversations. Like, why in the world is this so important? It was important to us, but we didn't really realize the impact of categories. So I went on to read some publishings from Moz and Whitespark where they had done studies on the impact of categories. And I can send them to you separately in a link. I'm trying to remember who published them. It may have been Darren Shaw, but where they had done studies where they showed, if you take a car dealer and you add plumbing repair as a category, no effect. Doesn't hurt you, doesn't help you. However, if you have a car dealer or any other relevant business and you take away a key category, if you're a restaurant, you take off vegan restaurant and vegetarian restaurant as categories, you no longer appear. And if you add them back, you overnight appear. And so categories are super, super influential today. They may not always be. And so that led us to then use the tool and do a lot of different searches and kind of find out there who's winning and who's not.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I mean, I figured categories were pretty important, but it sounds like they're more important than what most people realize.
Yeah. I think the name of the business is one of the number one Google My Business factors. And so you'll see spammers out there that will say, Nenni Chevrolet - Silverado, Camaro. They'll spam the name. Unfortunately, that works really well, and so dealers need to watch out for it. And they need to report, if they have a competitor doing it, report them. The downside is huge. They could be suspended for 1, 2, or more weeks, if you're caught doing it. And so I know in New York City, it's a big thing. If you go into Manhattan and look for Honda dealers, you'll see all these seeded little parasitic Google My Business, Honda cars for sale, new Honda cars, and they're just trying to get leads that they would then, I assume, sell to dealers or build audiences around.
Yeah, get some in-market shoppers. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was going to, George, do you want to do a screen share and sort of step us through?
I'm glad to stay here.
Then at some point, we got a story to share with you from Dan Sayer.
I have to go to system real quick and make a change. So security, privacy, screen recording.
Oh, yeah, lovely Skype, right? Well, once you get it up, we'll flip to your screen share.
What story does Dan have to share?
Well, let me throw that up on the screen. It's a long one. He says, funny story, George. Your Chrome extension was used by a speaker at a fixed ops NADA 20 group last month that leveraged it as, if you make your GMB awesome and add enough categories, you can quit your SEM campaigns. This is dead serious. Wow. Had to spend a day fending off my fixed GMs on why that was not the case, and they all had your GMBSpy installed on their browsers.
Tell them I officially, as the author, disagree.
Well, that's on the record for you now, Dan. George disagrees. Send it to all your fixed ops managers.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get that far.
My Mac's being a little slow at the moment.
Yeah, you're frozen. Oh, there you are. Now you're moving again. But also Ryan has been, Ryan Everson, that is just been a wealth of sharing here in today's comments. Thanks again, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
He's always a wealth of information.
I'm just looking down my phone.
Forums.
Mm-hmm.
Call history beta figure. Has anybody seen that? Ryan, have you seen the call history? We've been out looking and have not seen it yet.
Call history for
Google My Business. Supposedly it's going to show you the number of calls and allow you to see some level of detail.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, and that particular link he posted is straight to Google, so looks official.
Okay, Skype will not be able to record until I quit. So I have to quit Skype, which I can do, or I can step you guys through where I was going to go.
Huh. Well, don't quit. What's
Well, hopefully soon we'll be moving off of Skype.
Yeah, here soon. So what issue is he having, Alex?
Just have to some sort of privacy update thing allow Skype to show a screen.
Okay.
Looks like it might be happy here.
It's all right. It's Jeff. Do you want to pull up your GMB page or anything?
I've got it here.
Actually, it's funny. I was looking at Fricintech's GMB page earlier today. Not as important as a car dealer's, but I realized we had a few things off. So I'm waiting for the end of this show to go and fix them, hoping there's some sort of great detail I'm missing.
All right.
And Ryan says, yeah, a few of our listings qualified for it a couple of days ago, but haven't enabled it yet.
All right. Am I sharing?
Not yet. Oh, I see you. I get you.
Yep.
All right. So this is your website, generationsdigital.com. I know there's a link on the home page, and you can try it out here, which will bring you over here to GMBSpy, the Chrome web store. I've already installed it yesterday. And then what you're saying is go do a search in Google Maps, or now you can do it just in a normal Google search, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And then how does it know what to pull from?
So it generally works on hovering, so you got to be a little bit careful. Like if you click on Younger Volvo, for instance, and then go straight up and fire the extension. So on the map, you got Younger Volvo there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got the Mercedes here. So then click this. Oh, okay. Geez, that's quick.
Yeah, that one's not coming through into the screen share, Jeff. So we can't see what you're doing other than, what's in your browser without what you're clicking on.
Because it's a plugin. Oh, well, that sucks.
Can you share full screen versus just a window?
I can probably do that.
I keep trying to do it. I don't know if it's going to fire up or not, but.
No, but I can share this.
There it is. All right. So the first category is the primary. The others are not in order, by the way. They're just alphabetical. That's the way Google lists them. So there's no way to know the order of the others, but you do find out their primary, and you do find out what all categories they've chosen.
All right.
All right, you're not sharing anymore, Jeff, but
okay. Well, that sucks.
That's all right.
I didn't think about checking that out.
Yeah, you'll just have to go to generationsdigital.com, GMBSpy, and give it a go, right?
Yep, yep. And it does work on hover. So sometimes you can fire it up and you can hover on different properties, and it'll switch switch the view. If you have a challenge with it, just hit refresh in the browser and everything starts over. But it's interesting too if you have people that are in other businesses. Restaurants are pretty fascinating, big box retailers as well. Just kind of seeing a strategy they have and who's paying attention and who's not.
I was going to say, this isn't just for dealerships. Anyone can use this.
That's right. Yep. Another interesting point. There's been a lot of debate over the years about whether or not you need to have service, parts, and body shop. Separate Google My Business departments. And if you watch the big box retailers, Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, Kroger, and the way that they've created a dozen or more departmental GMBs, and then looking at the way that they've optimized their categories, you can see why they're winning in local search against other small businesses in the community. So deli near me, bakery near me, pharmacy near me. If you guys do those. Yeah.
So your big box, they're breaking them up as well?
Big time. Yep. So just if anybody on the call is on a browser, just type bakery near me or deli near me, and Walmart's going to be in there. They may not be in the top 3 in every market, but they're in the top 10, I think, in most. And they're winning with their GMB department page.
Wow. So whenever I went through the GMBSpy, categories were Mercedes-Benz dealer, auto repair shop, car dealer, car service, used car dealer. I have a funny feeling you can offer me some much better advice around that.
Yeah. So and it really depends. There's a couple of schools of thought. So for the most part, most franchise dealers should have their franchise dealer name first. So, Mercedes dealer, followed by used car dealer and car dealer. Those are the two best secondary choices. And then, if car leasing service, sometimes dealers will want to include there as well. But your fixed ops category should go in their fixed ops department. GMBs, you should optimize service for service. Don't put car dealer in the service one. Don't put car dealer in the body shop one. Body shop should be body shop and collision. And in the back of the book, there's an index of all the categories, at least as of the printing of the book. We'll keep that updated from time to time, but the fixed ops categories are broken out. But the better you delineate those, and the better you drive reviews and photos to those department pages, the quicker Google will recognize those and then nest those into the main listing.
Okay. And then what would you do from a competitive standpoint?
So from a competitive standpoint, I think it's one, just knowing if your competitors are paying attention on it and seeing if they're just sitting with car dealer or not, but maybe doing some category searches and see who's winning. So if you're in, I've done, searches for, and posted these online before, but, Mustang brake service near me or Jeep tires near me, and just see who's in the local pack, who first shows up in that local pack of 3 map results. And then if you click on more locations below that map pack, you'll now go into the Google Maps interface and it will show you the full listing. And you want to look at the ones that are winning and you want to see what categories they have. It's not all about categories though. Google will also give you additional clues. If you click on each listing, each Google My Business listing in Maps, sometimes it will give you the related to your search off to the right. That's Google kind of giving you a free bone. They're telling you, hey, here's why these folks scored high. And you will see keywords like you'll see Jeep brake. We love our new Jeep brake, our new Jeep brakes on our Wrangler, whatever it is, in the review, bolded and highlighted, right? So that's Google saying we index reviews. Get keywords in your reviews if you want to score well on non-branded search. So
there's a question
all over the place, but so reviews obviously matter too.
There's a good question from Drew Ament. He's asking, what about a 3 or 4 pack General Motors dealer? So Chevy, Buick, GMC, which one should they use for their main, and does it matter?
Yeah, I would say it probably matters. Your primary matters more than the others. I think all the secondary categories fall off from a ranking perspective quickly. But I would, what do you sell the most of, or what are you best known for? And probably be Chevrolet dealer. I'll tell you another interesting point that I've seen argued, and it does make a lot of sense. Cody Jerry from SEMD, give him credit for this idea. If you have a rural dealer, and let's say you're the only Ford dealer for 2 hours in any direction or an hour and a half in any direction, don't waste Ford dealer on your primary category. Make that used car dealer, because really you're gonna win on Ford dealer no matter what in the area. Maybe if you don't even have Ford dealer as a category, you haven't tested that, but try to optimize on used, because you want to show up in that map pack, because you got to try to win that fight.
Why not make one for each brand?
That's
yeah. You probably, if you were committed to the resources, I don't know about the brand, but dealers have been asking if they should break out the used cars. I would say yes, but you got to be committed. You got to be committed. It's a fair amount of work keeping up with it all.
Well, that was something else. It's like, if you're going to break it up between all the departments, at some point there's got to be a diminishing return there, because it can be a lot of work keeping up with all that stuff.
Yep. There's no doubt.
George, are you still sharing a screen?
I'm not. Let me make sure. I'll say stop sharing.
No, all's good on this side.
Okay.
Did it ever show up? Okay.
That looks better. Cool. I wanted to bring up mine.
The other point on the multiple, having the departments as well, being able to have separate hours, that really started to drive that conversation more a year or two ago, saying, hey, you need separate ones if you want to break out your hours for service versus sales. But really, now the way that you see the big box retailers breaking out departments and then winning on category search, that's a more compelling reason, I think.
Man, if everyone starts doing that, don't you think it's just going to be flooded? Like, I don't know. I still find it weird that they allow this. I really do.
That they allow just doing the departments?
Yeah, departments and yeah, just being able to break it out into departments. I don't know. I guess maybe old school thought, but it just seems I was always concerned with it to begin with. So whenever people were starting to tout, that practice, I was like, I'm going to hold off, because I remember back in the day we were doing that, and then about 6 months after everyone doing it, Google changed their mind, and then all of a sudden people's, I forget what, I think it was called Google Places or something back then. All of a sudden their page just disappeared because they were violating some new term of service. But it seems like it's legit this time around.
Yeah, and I think the thing that really legitimizes it the most is when you see Google nest those departments in the main listing. You can really see that that's their goal. And I think when you look at especially big box and dealerships to a lesser degree, they represent so many categories of products that lumping them all into one listing and then just hoping that they're able to index for those. I think Google would probably say, look, we're not helping our searchers enough by having one listing. We need to break these out so that they really can find the local pharmacy that happens to be located in a department store.
Mm-hmm.
You're there at the homepage. That's a great place for dealers to start. That thing changes all the time.
Step us through some of this.
Hold on. If you're sharing your screen, we're not seeing it here. Let me. There we go.
I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
Well, we're in a different service than what you guys are looking at.
Get with program, Alex.
But it's up.
Cool.
So I always like starting at the home because I want to see if Google's got any alerts for me or any new features. So as you scroll down, if you see Google give you a report card that says, look, you're 85% complete, they'll step you through the things that you need to become complete. And then if you scroll back to the top of the page, you'll see that there's a handy link that they include on most, to get more reviews. So if you click that share review form, you'll get a nice link.
Oh.
So it's g.page plus your short name. So you've set up a short name for your dealership, which is Mercedes Hagerstown. That's set up in the info tab. But if you add /review to the end of it, which that URL does have that if you go all the way out to the right, if you were to text that link to someone or email that link to someone, they're literally one click away from leaving your review, as long as they're logged into their Google account. So we use this with dealers. We were mentioning reputation management earlier. We use this for dealers who want to boost their 5-star ratings in their store. The salesperson, the sales manager goes to the salespeople and says, look, if you want to get into the next tier of commissions for the month, we need 2 5-star Google reviews from you each month that mention your name. And what they do is they're doing the final paperwork, getting ready to throw them in the F&I. They say, hey, Jeff, real quick, I'm going to go grab something. I still have your phone number in my phone. I'm going to text you a link if you wouldn't mind. Mm-hmm. If you could click on it and leave us a review. If you mention my name, that certainly helps me at the dealership. If you really want to be on your A game, hey, Jeff, here's a picture of you in your F-150 that we just sold you. If you wouldn't mind including that picture too, now that helps you increase your customer photos on your GMB page. But we have dealers that do a dozen reviews a month with that process on a single rooftop, medium-sized store, and are really able to influence their review rating average.
Do you see a lot of dealerships doing this in-house, or are they outsourcing? Like here, we use Podium in combination with Widewhale in order to get our reviews, and then Widewhale will they respond to each individual review for us on our behalf. It's been pretty seamless. We also we use a little bit of everything. I've always been pretty up on the reputation management and reviews. We also use the DealerRater Lot Shot. And I've got all the salespeople trained on that. So they'll go out, they'll get a photo with the customer, and get that review on Cars.com and DealerRater along with the customer's photo. I've got it set up where it automatically, only so many per week, will automatically post to our Facebook page, which makes it super easy and seamless. And then I've got Podium focusing on, they're sort of like a backup they'll message the customer as well, but then their main focus is for the service side.
Right.
And now I'm getting, for whatever reason, I've had, just in the past couple of weeks, I've had more and more customers adding photos to the Google My Page. Where customers add, yeah, we just, quite a few. We just had, just a couple of days ago, this lady purchased a car from us, and she took 3 or 4 photos and uploaded them to our GMB page.
Very nice. Yeah, that's helpful.
And I tell you, those photos get some play.
They do. Click on your Photos tab, and you can look at that and see the way they're broken out. Google allows you to have categories for those, whether they're owner photos or customer photos, and then interior, exterior. You've got your logo there. You can sometimes see gaps and opportunities here.
Mm-hmm.
We think dealers should go through and kind of manicure if they've got fuzzy photos, out of focus photos. I had one Ford dealer that had a picture of 2 people making out, and they're like, "How do I get rid of this picture?" So strange stuff will go up there sometimes. Maybe former employees, so go up and clean that up. But customer photos are harder to get than owner photos. Dealers are totally in control of their owner photos. We recommend them to get over 100 owner photos. Search Engine Land did a study in early this year that showed businesses that get over 100 owner photos get more than their fair share of activity on their GMB page.
Really?
So we've only gotten a couple dealers, really a handful that have gotten over 100 owner photos, but 10 a week, maybe 15, 20 a month. Whatever.
What are they posting, like inventory?
No, just the same sort of things that you have. Pictures of the dealership, events that they're running, service waiting areas. People taking possession of their vehicles, whatever it is. Just photos you may have on your Facebook page that haven't been syndicated over to
Google page. Photos of your customers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Your happy ones.
Yeah. Well, of course. Yeah, I mean that's.
And so to answer the question on Podium, I mean we like those services. We think dealers should use those services. Using the G.page link is just something to supplement those efforts, and to some degree, and don't shoot me here, to kind of gate your reviews, right? I mean, if I'm sitting across from you and you're irritated, you've been at the dealership for 2 hours trying to pay cash for a vehicle, we're not having that conversation. I'm not sending you that link. But if you're happy, if you're tickled, then by all means. And if you're my friend and you say, "Hey, George, what should I write? I've never written a review." I'll say, "I don't know, Jeff, how about you include the product you bought?" So if you got brake service or tires, if you bought an F-150, whatever it is. I'd love it if you use the word best, because a lot of people will search for those keywords. Use the word service, best service, those, and just, you can see those, the review language is definitely indexed by Google. I'm sure that's not really abiding by their terms, but again, people sometimes ask dealers what they should write.
Speaking of ask, Brian Toole is wondering, how do you get the default photo set on the listing that shows up in search?
It's last in, I believe. Should be last photo.
There you go, Brian.
It may be last photo, Brian. I read something recently. It also has to do with the number of maybe likes or useful clicks on those.
Well, I know you can choose a cover and logo. Is that different?
Yeah, I believe, and I may be caught flat-footed here. It's either the last or, and someone on the thread will probably chime in here with the right answer, or is the one that's liked or been found most useful.
Yeah, that definitely could be. What about videos? You got any dealerships utilizing videos? You see any advantage there?
Yeah, I mean, an advantage of just having additional content up there and videos, more dynamic and interesting than still photos. But no one really trying to take advantage of it or really lead with it. So probably underutilized there. So after you're at the home page, going to the info, that's really where everything lives, is in the info tab. And so you can go down there and essentially you're just filling in the blanks. So I'm not seeing it for your store there. Yeah. So when you get to info, you want to stop and look at the top and look for an orange alert from Google. You're not showing it, where Google will tell you that either people are suggesting changes or they're suggesting changes. And unfortunately, if you don't say no to those, they'll eventually become real changes. And so that's why at least once a week you want to get in your Google My Business. You want to go to your info tab, and see if there's any suggested changes. They'll all be in orange.
Okay. I've seen those before. I usually keep up on this. And then this right here is your categories, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Why does it do that every time? It drives me crazy.
What are you
car
doing?
Service, I don't know if I do. I think car service is is a limo. I don't know if that's that's not.
Yeah, that's probably not a good category, is it?
I don't think it's appropriate. It won't hurt you, but it won't. But you only get 10, and so trying to use them most wisely. And
You
then
say 10? I thought it was only 5 categories.
Yep, 10 categories.
Oh, okay.
Primary plus 9 more.
I got some work to do.
On the sales side, there's only so many, and so you really won't. I mean, unless you're a CJR dealer, you won't use them all up. You may not use them up for all your different.
It's got me thinking, should I break out? We've got Mercedes-Benz commercial vehicles, work trucks and such. I wonder if I should set up a separate page for that.
Maybe pick another metro and try to search for those. Try to see what results are pulling up. Or in your market, see if you pull up. If you may already be winning that. So if you are, you may not be worth the additional work.
I'm going to check that out. It's a good idea, Jeff.
Yep. And there's your short name there.
Yep.
You say that's where we triggered that. So g.page / whatever you have in there for your short name. You've got
now, do you recommend using UTM URLs within the menu here?
Yep, definitely want to do that to make sure that the traffic is categorized as organic search. We have dealers that will say, hey, I UTM tagged all my links, but suddenly they all changed overnight. So you want to be careful. If you have settings that are being overwritten on your GMB and you're not sure why, it always is either one of two things. One, Google is doing some suggest and changing it, or click on your users and make sure you audit who has access. So the user menu down below will show you anyone with access. And if you see a company name like Podium or Reputation.com, chances are they have a bot that's auto updating that. So
makes sense.
I like how you're Brandon Younger.
You like that?
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm not saying it.
Nah, it's just
He signed in as his dealer principal.
I can't get everything set up, and it's crazy because you can walk in, especially a dealer group, and there's no uniformity to anything. You'll jump in, and some dealerships they'll have 4 or 5 different Instagram pages. They'll have 3 or 4 Facebook pages. It's because maybe someone, one agency did it, then they got a new agency and they didn't have access to it, so they just started a new one. And then every now and then you got a salesperson out there that wants to be proactive, so they ended up starting. When we acquired the Volvo dealership here at the group, there were 3 or 4 Instagram pages for the dealership. There were 2 Facebook, and then trying to get access to those in order to delete them or remove them. Yeah, good luck. I mean, especially in a car dealership, because unfortunately, too often people come and go.
That's right.
And it's but my point being is it still surprising how many dealerships don't have a process established for all their social channels, making sure, the owner here, Brandon, he wasn't on Facebook. And it took me forever to get him signed up on. I was like, look, you don't have to use it. Just, you need an account so we can get all these domains over to you. That way you own all the dealership Facebook pages. Well, not own, but you know what I mean. Go ahead and start a Google My Business so then we can bring all the analytics under you, bring all the GMB pages under you. Otherwise you got an agency out there that's doing it. They've got, they build it for them, and who knows what's going to happen, because how dealerships go through agencies as well. I always if you're the owner, set up Facebook page, a personal account so you can bring everything underneath your umbrella. And then most of your programs out there allow you to assign people, to have different access. So it's not like you really need to share your username password with everybody or whoever's going to be managing. You can just allow them the access. I'm just fortunate enough to have the owners.
You just gave me a realization, Jeff. We were fortunate in my checkered flag days to have a really good IT director very early on, and he recognized that email leads, this would have been in the 90s, were going to be a thing, and so he set up these email addresses like VW sales at checkeredflag.com and BMW sales and Toyota sales and that kind of thing. And so all the internet leads from AutoTrader, Cars.com, or from our website or Auto USA and Stone Age back then could go right into these email addresses, and then we just forward them on to our CRM system or ILM or whatever tools we needed to go to. And it's amazing how many dealers still are not configured that way to this day. But also, you got me thinking that maybe the IT departments aren't thinking about the dealer's social presence. They're probably watching it from are the staff behaving, but might not be thinking of it in, how do we make sure the dealership's got its best technological foot forward in these spaces. So.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Yeah, I mean, and it's not complicated. I mean, once I come back here and start helping out with, especially once COVID went down, I was asked to help out with some of the nuances around social media and stuff. So I just put together a big spreadsheet and start putting everything in one central location. Username, passwords, access, URLs, everything. But a lot of dealerships do not do that.
Yep, very important. Google Analytics, Facebook logins, all those big permission banks.
How often? And I'm really putting myself under the bridge here, but posted July 2nd for July 4th. I'm doing a shitty job. How often should a dealership make use of the post area within GMB? How often should they put new posts out there?
Yeah,
more often than what I have here lately.
I mean, the posts are not going to get a ton of clicks and activity. You should definitely do Google posts. I would recommend not over posting, because all that's going to do is stack all the content into a carousel that very few people will be willing to thumb through. So come up with your best post, post it, and then move on to the next. When that time's out, move on to the next post. Greg Gifford's got a great slide deck. I don't know if he delivered that for Digital Dealer, but I saw that on the White Spark Summit a few weeks ago, where he goes through and does a pretty deep dive on the different types of posts, which one's the best. He likes the what's new post because it gives you 3 lines of text. It's the only one that gives you 3 lines of text for the posts. He recommends doing one at a time. That's where I got the idea on trying to avoid the carousel. And then don't do timed posts that will last longer, because those will they may not show as you do a new post. It's gonna show that one in front of your timed post. So you really got to be aware that they're only going to really show one post at a time, unless someone's willing to do a deep dive through there.
So utilize the what's new.
Yep.
Yeah, we're trying.
UTM tag.
Yeah, we're trying to get Greg to join us for a Refresh Friday. Hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah, can anyone get a hold of that guy?
I have not heard back from him. He's a busy man.
So Insights is nice. It shows you. I mean, this searches right here is an important thing to look at, right? So when winning is the blue section, winning is non-branded. So for car dealers direct, if it were Nenni Chevrolet, the green direct would be Nenni and Chevrolet together, like my full brand name. If they just searched for Chevrolet, that's my franchise brand. That's the yellow group, and then the blue is category search. If I could send you a screenshot of what we produce. So we do an API interface with Google My Business and roll that into Data Studio. So we're able to show this over time, and we can see that when you set up your department pages for fixed ops, for service, parts, body shop, your blue section dominates. So most of the searches and and views of your page are all coming through non-branded. Again, reinforces the importance of getting those department pages
categories.
out.
Yeah.
That's right.
Interesting. That's great. Cool.
Search queries. I mean, Google is stingy with search queries. What a nice free place to look and see, what are the top search queries that they're using to find your store. You can find keyword ideas in there, maybe some paid keyword ideas as well.
All the usual.
Yep.
Cool. And of course, just the regular reporting. Hey, what about messaging? Are there any services in the automotive industry that's tapping into the messages?
I think all the big messaging services out there, Contact at Once, Live Person, CarNow, they all will integrate. And so if you want to integrate messaging into your Google My Business with your primary chat platform, just reach out to your chat provider, or just support at CarNow, support at Contact at Once, and they can help you set that up. Messaging is a little tricky. It only works on mobile devices, and it's kind of cryptic. When you first pull up a Google My Business listing on your phone, you'll see the messaging icon, but if you scroll and want to look at hours and come back, it's gone. So you don't get a lot of messaging activity just by the way Google's kind of built that interface, in my opinion. But it's still worth doing.
Yeah, makes sense. And I'm surprised no one in the industry, at least that I know of, has been able to tie in service appointments through the booking section.
Right. I mean, we'll link to the dealer's X time page or whatever from the appointment link, but yeah, no true integration.
Maybe
that's a great point. I mean, that'd be a great opportunity.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about service scheduling earlier before we got started, and how there's at least I think there's a need out there for some more options around online service scheduling for dealerships.
Yep, you bet. One more common question: if you click on info and go to the bottom, we've gotten this question a lot. Dealers will say, "Hey, I'm adding amenities, but they're not sticking." So it used to be, until earlier this year, if you went under add attributes for amenities, you could add those. They wouldn't necessarily display on your Google My Business page, but they wouldn't be plus signs again. So if you choose those, if you click 24-hour service drop off, free cost estimate.
I know I've done this before.
Right. Yeah. So Google has now taken over the amenities, and they're deciding which ones to show. I still think if it were me, I'd be going in there and sending those signals and choosing those, but I don't have any proof that that's necessarily going to help you. And that's an active thing for Google right now. I mean, they've been changing that like every couple of weeks. That amenities section changes. It used to be dealers would see car rental, oil change. So now that's all changed to, I think, on remote services or on-site services or something. You click on that, and then you get to the amenities. So a little bit of a moving target. The payments area as well is an area that you'll see Google make suggestions or say, they don't take American Express, or they do, and so you can go in there and
I was going to say, you better check off that Diners Club, Jeff.
I was going to ask you if you still have your Diners Club card.
Actually, it's a big deal in some parts of the country for sure.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Diners Club. What about the China Union Pay? How funny is that?
I thought that was the bank that offers one lump sum payments.
Yeah. So, all right. I'll turn.
You got your Y-Buy down there. You got that nice and filled out. You would think that would be indexed by Google for GMB, but that has been tested and proven to not matter. So yeah. I still think you should put good keywords in there and you should fill it out, but that will not be an influencer for you.
Yeah.
Well, now you have the changes up there. There it is, Jeff. See that orange eye? I don't see any suggestions, though.
No. Accept offerless location.
Yep.
I'll dive back into it.
Yeah.
Is there any use for the website?
No, I think that's just the Google website platform. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I accidentally click on it sometimes and immediately just click away. But yeah, I think if you didn't want to do a Wix website or you didn't want to do your own website, that may be a placeholder website.
Yeah, I've done one for a few friends, and it's pretty generic, but it gets the job done.
There's a question Brian Toole's asking twice. So we got you, Brian. So what about the products?
Products, they're not turned on for all dealers. Maybe 60% of the dealers we've surveyed or worked with, products are turned on. And so products are a lot like posts in that you can have like static display ads with some text and then a link. So best practice is to set up products for each of your new makes and models that you sell. Yep. You might have a product for various services or the works package or some of those offerings. Don't expect to get a lot of clicks. One of my favorite things to set up for products is a trade button. So and when you're thinking about Google Posts or when you're thinking about products, it's not always about doing an ad. I've seen some really good treatment where someone will just try to turn that into a button. So a big reversed out, schedule your appointment, get a value on your trade to try to get clicks on those, and then those would then go to the trade pending site or wherever. But you might get 5 clicks a month. It's just not all. People just don't take action.
Well, it's free right now, so why not take advantage and fill it in, see what happens.
And it's trackable.
Makes sense.
Questions? Right. We didn't talk about that. Most dealers have questions and answers they've not answered. So questions can be asked by anybody. Questions can be answered by anybody. It can be the Wild West. So lasso that. Get a hold of that.
Yeah, for sure. I had some of the employees go in there and ask questions from home, and then I went in there and answered them.
If you find one you really like, Jeff, like you're like, wow, this is great. If 3 people like the question, it promotes that question onto the front of your Google My Business page. Yep. So it can be a nice,
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. I'll jump on it. Hey, anything around voice search with Google My Business? Have you heard anything? Is there any? Have they released anything? Have they talked about that? I know for me, I've been seeing a lot of ads show up in my Facebook feed or Instagram promoting, I think it was for Alexa, for dealerships to add, well, not just dealerships, but for all small businesses or businesses alike to add their business listing to Alexa. Have you seen anything around that?
No, I have not. It's a good one. Good one to research, though. I'm not. We see a lot of voice search just in paid search. We'll see those queries in paid search queries, and Google connects those dots pretty easily, but not around Alexa.
Yeah, I'll post something about that over in the forums. Maybe someone else out there has some information.
There's another last one here from Ryan. He was asking. We throw that back up on the screen. Does anyone actually generate a substantial amount of clicks off of GMB posts? The manufacturer reps seemingly have become GMB experts and have convinced all their GMs that they drive tons of sales that way.
Almost never. I mean, just rarely. I think most SEO folks would say do them to give Google signals that you're paying attention to your page, and every once in a while a consumer might see it and click on it.
Dude, I don't know what's going on with the manufacturers, but we're getting, at least for me and Ben's, we're getting more and more requests to add stupid shit to our websites, to change stuff around. And I'm like, where did they come up with this shit?
It's COVID.
It's called job justification when you're in a world of layoffs and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, they were beating me up. It was mandatory to have in our top navigation search tires or tire store. Now, I had it in 2 other places in that, but no, it had to be part of the top navigation. I'm like, they really think like that's going to increase tire sales? They sure do, man. Gotta have it.
I think they can show you heat maps from other dealers and say, here's the data. Yeah. And you might say, okay. Yeah.
I know. George, if a dealership was on a limited budget right now, what would be the top 3 ad channels you would recommend them going with?
So unlimited budget, and we have rural dealers that face this same challenge. For sure, we talked about Google My Business. It's a great free way to optimize. Facebook, paid Facebook ads for new and used make model ads perform really well, but there's not a ton of vendors that in my opinion are great at it. Look for shop for vendors that talk about things like self-optimizing Facebook audiences around conversion metrics. So using Google Tag Manager to fire events based on page engagement or conversion, feeding that back to Facebook so that Facebook self-corrects and makes the audience better. Week 2 looks better than week 1, and so on. And with flat agency fees, low agency fees that they can predict. So those would be an area. Paid search, but with a super miserly budget. And I would do a couple categories there. I would do make geo, so Chevy dealer near me, Chevy dealer, Texarkana, whatever it is. So, that's the sweet spot. That's really where I think Google paid search does really well, and you can really help yourself as long as you keep a high quality score and a low cost per click. And then either don't buy your name at all. If your name's a proper name, don't buy it at all. Or if you have a really savvy agency who can get your cost per click below 25 cents, maybe below 10 cents in some rural areas, then buy all you can of your name. And we have dealers that have got their cost per click on their branded down below 10 cents, sometimes below 5 cents. They're able to buy every click that's available in the market seemingly for $30, $40, right? So
why would they do that? I mean, it's still $30 wasted, or would that help with their overall score?
I think it basically makes you dominate page 1. So now you don't have to worry about competitors maybe buying those keywords. But at the same time, I mean, they're seeing your brand, then they see your Google My Business, then they see your organic, and then they're going to click on one or the other. But for $30 to buy all those clicks at a super low cost per click, you're just dominating page 1 for not a lot of money.
So what you're saying is, whenever I was desperately trying to get my agency to stop, $300 to $400 would have been too much to be spending on that.
If you would have asked me 8 months ago, I would have said do that. I would have said $300 or $400, $500 a month, if you feel compelled to buy your name, or zero. But if you can drive cost per click super low, then buy it up.
But they were always quick to point out the fact on how well it's performing.
Of course, yeah, it does.
So well, no shit.
Facebook Marketplace, that's a no-brainer, I think, for most dealers. I like to buy Facebook Marketplace or get Facebook Marketplace from your chat provider. Seems to make the most sense to me because it's a very chat-centric, activity. But lots of people provide Marketplace, and as long as you're committed to responding quickly, then you should do well.
Yeah, we don't get a ton, but the other dealerships get quite the action, probably because of the price point of their vehicles versus ours. But they get a ton of action. We use CarNow for chat, so they also send the inventory over. So it's all taken care of. And every now and then, if I have the ability, I'll jump in one and chat with the customer if possible. But yeah, we've got a Nissan store, Toyota store. Both of those do really well, at least from a lead side. I don't know what the sales is like, but from a lead side, they do really well with Marketplace. Someone else I was speaking to the other day, I thought was a pretty good idea. They had mentioned, because a lot of dealerships are struggling buying cars from the used car lot, to set up alerts in Marketplace in order to start looking for vehicle acquisitions.
That's a good idea.
I know. I didn't think about that. It's not a bad idea. Doesn't hurt. It's pretty easy. So, George, if someone wants to get a hold of your book, why don't you remind us how they go about that? Sure.
If you just go to Amazon and type Google My Business, if that doesn't work, Google My Business car dealer, it's going to pull up right away. You could Google my name, George Nenni, or search for Generations Digital, and you'll find lots of links to the book and to our site. But it should be.
From there, they can also find the GMBSpy Chrome plugin.
They absolutely can. Yep, it should. We just redid the website, so it should all navigate nice and clean. I think right at the top is a link to the GMBSpy tool. It's free. It should be pretty dependable, and It can be addicting. I mean, so my brother's got an accounting firm. He offers payroll services. He couldn't be found. We added payroll services as a category overnight. Now he shows up, first or
Really?
second in our community. Yeah, so it's just
Dude,
it's pretty strong.
That can make a big difference.
You bet.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, congratulations on that, man.
Thank you.
George,
Thanks for
George-
having me, guys. I'm
George
big fans. I
McFarland.
try to tune in every Friday if I can, but it's some of the best automotive digital content out there. So
Oh, we appreciate it. It's all Alex, not me.
Yeah, right. It's everybody, man. Community, 15 years strong.
I say it's really just the community for sure.
Yep.
That's what gets it done.
Well, thank you
All
all.
right, man. Well, of course, you've got your ads over on Dealer Refresh, so they can go over there and click and visit all your real estate and information. You mentioned in the beginning there were some articles talking about some different things within GMB. Maybe if you think about those, send those over to me. I'll get those added into the forums for everyone. And
I'll do it.
That's it, man. We really appreciate your time, as always.
Anytime. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a great weekend.
Yep, make it a great weekend.
Always great content. Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.